Before this video begins, you need to know how much I hate having my picture taken. As you can see by these photos, I am not comfortable in front of a camera. So last year, just before we got married, I asked my fiancée if it would be such a terrible thing to have all of our wedding pictures just be of her. Would it really be such a bad thing if she just stood for the pictures by herself? Well, as you can see here, that didn't work. So if I loathe having my picture taken that much, why would I let myself be so embarrassed by this series of photographs? Because I wish someone would have shared the following information with me many years ago. Weight loss is a huge industry. Just in the United States, $110 million every single day. But as an industry, it fails miserably. Weight loss is such an emotional issue that even though over 98% of the programs fail, we try again and again to find one that works. I don't know how many times I tried to lose weight, but every time I'd lose a few pounds, sure enough they'd come right back and usually bring a few friends. What other industry could survive such failure? If 98% of all the cars didn't start, we'd still be traveling by horse and buggy. The key to long-term weight loss has very little to do with the stomach. The key to permanent weight loss is what we're going to call solving the puzzle of staying thin for a lifetime. Each piece of this puzzle is vital, for when vibrant health is achieved, permanent weight loss follows naturally. The first piece to our staying thin for a lifetime puzzle is removing the poisons that have accumulated in our bodies over our lifetimes. Scientists even have a name for it. They call it toxic burden. If we eat conventional foods and drink tap or bottled water, we consume this gallon of poisons in our fruits, vegetables, meats, and water every year. If we drank it all at once, we'd be dead in less than a minute, and no doctor on earth could revive us. In a recent study of the umbilical cord blood of newborns in the United States, the average number of toxins was 287. 287 different poisons. So it's not a question of if we have toxic burden. Our children are being poisoned before they're even born. It's just a matter of what steps can we take to minimize the damage. The second piece to our staying thin for a lifetime puzzle is lowering the amount of excess oxidation in the body. To do that, we need to know the difference between healthy oxygen and unhealthy oxidation. Any chef who ever made a fruit salad knows that if you put lemon juice on the apples, they don't turn brown. Why not? Because the antioxidants in lemon juice protect the apple from oxidation, just like paint protects the body of a car from rusting. Healthy oxygen has 6 electrons. When it loses one, it is not happy, and it won't be happy until it acts like a thief and steals the missing electron from somewhere else. It's not even oxygen, it's an oxidant. And when that somewhere else is inside your body, you have a real problem. Antioxidants, on the other hand, have extra electrons, and they are able to share these excess or extra electrons with the radical oxygen species. By making them complete, they can actually recycle unhealthy oxidants back into healthy oxygen. Now, instead of damaging the body, the recycled oxidant, now healthy oxygen, can protect it. All of the poisons we just talked about cause excessive oxidation in our bodies, so it's easy to see why the synergy of these 8 pieces is so vital. But it's not just taking antioxidants that's important. Perhaps even more important is, how can we make sure that our bodies absorb all of these nutrients in order to receive maximum benefit from them? The third piece to our staying young for a lifetime puzzle is focusing not on our weight, but on waist circumference. The World Heart Federation asked nearly 2,700 doctors from around the world if they knew how important to good health smaller waist sizes are. 80% of the doctors knew, but they failed to measure their patient's waist. Why is that so important? Because fat cells around the waist raise chronic inflammation levels. Fat cells around the hips and the arms and the thighs don't. Harvard Medical School tracked 27,000 men over 13 years. They found out that if a man just lets his waist go from 34 inches to 36 inches, his risk for diabetes goes up by 100%. Over 38 inches triples the rate of coronary heart disease. 40 inches and more, 1100% greater risk for diabetes. And if you're middle-aged, a larger waist size increases the risk for some cancers by nearly 350%. My waist measurement at the navel level was nearly 46 inches. When this picture was taken, I'd already lowered my waist over 9 inches. And for the last over 3 years, my waist is much lower than that, usually between 34 and 35 inches. No wonder my level of chronic inflammation is more than 90% lower than it was before. The fourth piece to our staying young for a lifetime puzzle is lowering acid levels in the body. Arthritis, cancer, diabetes, and heart disease all thrive if we're acid. The amount of acidity in our bodies is called our pH level, and experts say that having a high acid pH level is like putting a scuba wetsuit over our cells. It makes it very difficult to get proper nutrients into our cells, or perhaps even more important, to get toxic poisons out. This isn't new information. If you Google the 1931 Nobel Prize for Medicine, you'll find that Dr. Otto Warburg won that prize for discovering how cells breathe. 80 years ago, he said, disease cannot live in an alkaline body. I had regular physical exams for over 30 years by a variety of doctors. Not one of them ever checked my pH level. When I did, I found out I was extremely acid. Not anymore. Now my body's alkaline. The fifth piece to our staying thin for a lifetime puzzle is reducing the amount of chronic inflammation in our body. Over the last 10 years, Time Magazine, U.S. News and World Report, Oprah Magazine, and many others have featured articles on chronic inflammation. So what is chronic inflammation? Very simply, on a scale of 0 to 10, the higher the level of inflammation, the greater the relative risk of arthritis, cancer, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and Alzheimer's disease. In fact, virtually every disease normally associated with aging is not the result of aging. It's the result of chronic inflammation. Any level below 1 means we have a low risk for disease and premature aging, and everything above 3 is a high risk for disease and premature aging. Mine was 6.2, very high risk. Are these numbers important? They were for me. In October of 2009, I had a heart attack, and 2 months later in December, I was diagnosed with cancer. 1 out of every 2 people with my kind of cancer die in less than 3 years. Again, my level of chronic inflammation was 6.2, but by learning the 8 pieces to the Staying Young for a Lifetime puzzle, it is now 0.5, more than 90% lower. The sixth piece to our Staying Thin puzzle is learning to separate truth from fiction when it comes to our health care. When we're given the wrong medical information, it's not our doctor that suffers, it's us. As an example, the American Heart Association and the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute state that increased health risk begins when waist size reaches 35 inches for a woman and 40 inches for a man. We've already talked about how inaccurate that information was for men, but what about women? In 1986, Harvard Medical School did a study with 44,700 nurses, and they said that even normal weight women who have a waist measurement of over 30 inches at the navel were much more likely to develop both cancer and heart disease. No wonder the International Diabetes Foundation defines abdominal obesity as 31.5 inches for women and 35.5 inches for men. Einstein said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We must have correct information if we want to achieve vibrant health. The seventh piece to our Staying Thin for a Lifetime puzzle is having optimal levels of vitamin D. As I mentioned earlier, I've had regular physical checkups for over 30 years with several different doctors. Not one of them has ever checked my vitamin D level. Why is that such a serious error? Because vitamin D deficiency contributes to at least 17 varieties of cancer, as well as heart disease, type 1 and type 2 diabetes, and osteoarthritis. The number 2 cause of death and disability for women in the United States is breast cancer. But Dr. Cedric Garland, professor of cancer prevention at one of the top cancer hospitals in the United States, says that 75% of all breast cancer deaths could be prevented with adequate levels of vitamin D. Most of us know a woman who has been a victim of this terrible disease, a wife, a daughter, a mom, or a friend. How can doctors in this country still consider a vitamin D level of 30 as acceptable when the Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine says the optimal level of vitamin D is 75 to 100? Mine is nearly 50 now, so I still have a little work to do. But how would I have known if I hadn't discovered the 8 pieces of the Staying Thin puzzle? Each one of the first 7 pieces of our Staying Young for a Lifetime puzzle is vital to both permanent weight loss and increased energy. But without the 8th piece, they can't work. The 8th piece of the Staying Young for a Lifetime puzzle is removing stress, because stress is so damaging that the hormone that it causes in the body is often called the death hormone. The 2 largest causes of stress in this economy are worries about money and work-related stress. So we need to answer the question, is there a simple formula for removing both of these sources of stress from our lives? The answer is yes. Bill Gates said, and I quote, "The internet is the gold rush of the 21st century." Companies like Microsoft, eBay, and Google all have 2 things in common. First, they develop products that consumers want and need, and second, they recognize that if they could just tap into people's fascination with the internet, they would experience explosive income. But what great want or need could we provide to get our share of this huge internet pie? Well, every year in this country, almost 4.5 million tons of chemicals pollute the water we drink, the air we breathe, and the soils that grow our food. In fact, according to the Center for Disease Control, we now lead the world in cancer incidence. All of us have toxic burden. The weight loss and management market is enormous and growing. More than 75% of the adults in the United States are overweight. 500,000 Americans go on a diet each and every single day. 75 million Americans buy diet products. And $110 million is spent on diets every single day. $110 million a day with a 98% failure rate for typical diets? What an opportunity. Bottled water is a $35 billion a year industry. Lead, chlorine, and pesticides are commonly found in tap water, but in addition to those contaminants, bottled water is known to contain phthalates, which alter normal hormone function. Everyone wants healthy water. We know how to make it, from virtually any water coming out of a tap. At Robust DNA, we compile and distribute health information from around the globe that focuses on the 4 greatest needs of consumers everywhere. Safe and effective weight loss, reducing the levels of dangerous toxins in our bodies, producing the brain chemistry for better health, happiness, and according to Dr. John Gray, the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, increasing romance. By combining what we feel is the world's most perfect food with the only water ionizing machine to ever receive this exclusive gold seal certification through the Water Quality Association, we are helping people stay thin for a lifetime. And finally, helping others learn how to reduce economic stress. By using a simple series of emails and internet links, not only can we learn how to stay thin for a lifetime ourselves, we can build our own internet business, helping those we care about do the same. The team members here at Robust DNA have chosen to share this information with our family and friends because it's so important. If you'd like to learn how to apply these same principles in your own life, or if you'd like to share them with those you care about, please feel free to call us. Our phone number is 503-563-5011. If you prefer email, our email address is info@robustdna.com.